Today we celebrate girls and young women in technology, and to inspire you, girls and young women here in the room, to be leaders in the digital world, the next generation of leaders. 2025 is a very special year for ITU and, for that matter, for the digital world. We are proud to turn 160 years. It is 160 years of innovation, always ahead of the tech curve, of the next tech curve. It is 160 years of multilateralism, and we have some students here from Vermoon. So that means 194 member states today are reaching consensus more often than not in extending the benefits of technology to all peoples in the world. It is 160 years of resilience and endurance. ITU is twice as old as the United Nations, which was founded after World War II, and for that reason. Imagine, look at your history lessons in school. Since ITU's founding in Paris in 1865 by 20 countries, which no longer exist as such, they have transformed into new countries, political and economic times have been challenging. And yet, our members have been finding consensus more often than not. France and Germany, for example, two of the founding members, they were in war just after co-founding ITU, and today they are best friends. This gives me hope, and I hope it gives you hope. It gives me confidence that we will be able to shape the next 160 years of technology for you. Morse code. Da, 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 da. Does that sound familiar to any one of you? Maybe I'm not very good in imitating the Morse code. It was the signal that gave birth to ITU 160 years ago. Morse code transmitted over long distances was a very fast means of communication for the first time before we used horses and pigeons. It could travel long distances and also from country to country, but there was a problem. Traveling the Morse code from country to country had to be stopped because the language was not the same. It had to be translated from one to another system. And so the founding members that I referred to before, they said, okay, we have to fix this. We have to come together. And that's how they came together and founded ITU and protocols, systems that were able to communicate over long distances, very fast, seamlessly. When you make a phone call today to someone in another country, you do not notice that there is a lot of technology behind, so you can speak without... Some of the webinars we do, we have to say, do you hear me? Yeah? And yes, we hear you because of ITU. So passing by radio, television, satellite communications, and the internet, of course, today we're shaping the next generation of technologies, such as artificial intelligence, space communications, lunar communications, and quantum technologies. You have the opportunity today to engage with ITU staff, most of them or all of them women, right? These are women in tech, to learn about these technologies and the career opportunities in these and other sectors. AI and quantum, in particular, promise to greatly shape business efficiency, industrial and food production, medical help, transport and travel to make that safe, sustainable cities, and entertainment, streaming over streaming platforms. I wish you an exciting morning of exploration, discovery, and engagement among yourselves with the ambassadors, the senior politicians we have here in the room, ambassadors, policymakers, and our tech people. And I pass on now to Arianna Dilauro. The floor is yours to tell us more about Girls in ICT Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Monika. Good morning. My name is Arianna, and it's a pleasure to represent the Gender Youth Office at ITU today. So to all distinguished guests, partners, colleagues, young change makers, and most importantly, to all the brilliant girls joining us here today in Geneva, a warm welcome to this very special celebration of International Girls in ICT. But why do we celebrate Girls in ICT Day? Because we believe that girls and young women everywhere should not only get access to or use technology, but shape it. And since 2011, ITU has celebrated Girls in ICT Day every year on the fourth Thursday in April. And it began with a clear and powerful purpose: to inspire more girls to pursue studies and careers in tech and STEM fields. And this year, as we mark ITU's 160th anniversary, we are proud to continue this legacy, because meaningful connectivity is not just about technology, it's about people. And ensuring that every girl has the digital skills, confidence, and access to thrive is key to achieve more inclusive and diverse digital transformation. But talent alone is not enough. And across the globe, girls are still underrepresented in STEM fields, not because they lack drive or potential, but because they too often lack access, visibility, mentorship, and sometimes a little bit of encouragement. So that's why we're here today. And our theme for this year is Girls in ICT Day for Inclusive Digital Transformation. And this reminds us that the future of technology should be inclusive by design. And today is more than just inspiration. It's about action. It's about opening doors, lifting barriers, and creating space where girls not only belong in tech, but lead in tech. So to all the brilliant girls here in this room today, we see you, we support you, and we believe in you. Do not stop to dream big.
The first question is, how did Doreen Bogdan-Martin... So how did Doreen Bogdan-Martin get interested in tech?
So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Girls in ICT Day. It's great to see so much energy in this room and smiling faces, I think, of all ages. I think I just saw our youngest participant walk through the door. So thanks so much for being here. So how did I kind of get into tech? Well, I grew up in a science-loving family, I would say. My father was a medical doctor, a pediatrician, and he was into all things science. At home, we used to have different science competitions. We all did the annual science fairs in our schools, and he was big with his microscope, and we did some home photography development. And we also had a VHF radio. My dad was also a dedicated diehard fisherman, and so when he was out on his boat, the only way that we could communicate with him was through radio, so also became quite interested and obsessed with radio. But of course, I am not a digital native like many of you in this room. I am an analog person, grew up in an analog era. Became so excited when they developed the long telephone cord so that I could actually take the kitchen phone and go down the basement steps. It was like a 6-foot long cord so that my parents couldn't hear my phone conversation. That was like a big excitement for me as a young person. I remember when my family got its first PC. It was the Gateway computer. For those of you of my generation, you might remember when the Gateway computers came out. And of course, I grew up in an academic world where we didn't have the internet. I remember doing programming on mainframe, and it was a different world. So when the internet came on the scene and everybody started to have a computer and we started to have a mobile phone, I think through my academic studies and my first internship, which was in the US government, I got more and more excited about the power and the potential of technology. And I think sort of the rest is history. I started being obsessed with satellites and the power of satellites. And I then had an opportunity to come to the ITU way back when, in 1993, when the industry was really on the verge of transformation with mobile telephony and the internet sort of exploding.
We will now move on to the second question.
Okay.
So how did Doreen Bogdan-Martin become ITU Secretary General?
Yeah, Well, thank you. Thank you for that question. Well, I have been in the ITU for many, many years. As I mentioned, I came on a detachment in 1993 for 3 months, and I have been here ever since. But of course, in different functions. I started in the policy regulatory sphere. I went on to lead our strategy department. I set up our UN Affairs office in New York. I then became director, the elected director of development back in 2018, and I was elected Secretary General in 2022, becoming the first woman in ITU's, at the time, 57-year history when I was elected. And some say, like, why are you still there? 30 years, like, isn't it boring? But I think what's incredible about the ITU, and I think what's also incredible about technology, is it's constantly changing. And I think from my early days, I understood the impact of actually having access to your mobile phone meant. Back in the days when I was backpacking around Europe, I remember going to the post office to send my postcard to my parents, or to wait in line at the PTT to place a phone call, which was very expensive back then, to my parents, and the world was starting to change. And I think each year we saw new technological innovations and developments, and I became more and more excited about the potential of technology. I was driven by my passion, by my dedication, and I think ultimately about my desire to make an impact to make sure that everyone in the world had access to technology at something that was affordable for all, and that experience was meaningful. And if we look around the world today, we still have 2.6 billion people that have never, ever been online. And so I think when it comes to the ITU, we still have a lot of work to do. And my kind of mission and vision in my role as Secretary General is to ensure that ITU gets technology out to everyone, everywhere.
So we're getting to Ambassador Guillermet Fernández for another round of questions, please.
So, Mr. Ambassador, it's now your turn to invite your first question.
Yes, okay. I think we need to be very strong.
With energy.
So, what has Christian Guillermet Fernández dream career as a child?
This is a very funny history because it's not like Doreen. To be honest, and I was thinking a lot on that, my dream was to be a waiter. Yes. And my grandmom offered me a napkin. And I used to be all the time with my napkin on the arm, and I used to serve with my family. Since then, I made a lot of changes in my life and in my thinking. But I'm a son of parents, artists, painters, both of them. And I think this was something very important on my life, in the sense that there was no difference between my mother and my father. They had the same profession, and they were all the time painting, and each of them has his space, and we were in a very inclusive environment. And then I have only one brother, which is mean we had not this difference between girls and as a sister or something like this. But when I became father, I had 2 daughters. And then one of my main concerns was that there was inclusivity in their life, that they can dream, and they can dream big, as you say. And this is something from my early childhood. I was not immersed, not in diplomacy, not in nothing, but they have this feeling of service. You know, I was to serve, and then being a teenager, I decided to became a lawyer, and from that to become a diplomat. And my life as a diplomat is always to bridge positions, to try to make consensus, and to try to empower people. which means that we are doing here in Geneva as a diplomat in the multilateral, has a sense if you have impact on the people on the ground. And for me, one of the main challenges, and that's why I'm very proud to be here today also, is that to empower women and girls is a fundamental step that we are lacking on those days. And I think that this is something very important, and the numbers are there in ICTs or in technologies and maths and etc. And that's why I think that we need to move forward on that. I think it was a very extensive answer for what I want to be as a child. I also probably, I have to say that I was really, really in admiration of the guys who drive the truck of garbage. And I say to my mother, and they went all the nights, it was at 7 o'clock at night that they went, said, I want to be in this car. And my mom went to the guy who was driving, and she allowed me to do the around with the guy from the garbage, which is mean I was always very, very humble and looking for how we can serve to others. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. We will now move on to the next question. So, what was Christian Guillermet Fernández's experience in advocating for gender equality in his career?
Thank you. As I mentioned, as a father, I always looking to do exactly the same as I have the advantage in my childhood, which is mean the inclusivity in my family with my mother and my parent, my father. And since then, I'm really vocal on women empowerment. I'm part of this initiative of Gender Champions, and all the time I have the opportunity to raise my flag, to have a voice, to fight for the rights of women and girls' rights. I'm trying to be always present. But it comes from the fight against violence against women, as you see, or to be here in the 160 years of ITU and the Day of Girls in ICTs, or also have an initiative from Costa Rica on menstrual justice, something that I must be very honest, I never heard that before, and then I realized when I was a student that the budget that I have for everything, to go to the movies, to go to have a pizza or something like that, it was not affected by this fact that my girls colleagues or students, they have part of the budget on menstrual issues, which is mean it's something that doesn't have any visibility. And then I start being very vocal on that, and I'm really committed, but also I believe in that the empowerment of girls and women are fundamental for the advancement of any society. In my personal experience also, looking back in Costa Rica, in all those projects that are financed by international donors, you cannot imagine how the difference is when you have men driving a project on the ground, or you have women driving this probably exactly the same project. You have successful histories when it's driven by the women, and this is not a fantasy; it's a reality. And we made some studies in Costa Rica, and from 10 projects, if they are run by women, 9 are successful. And this is something that is data that we need to share with everyone and to make it clear in our societies also to move forward in the empowerment of girls. And I think that here in ICTs is more than important to do so. Thank you for the question.
We'll now move on to the final set of questions. So what is the role of ITU? within the United Nations?
Thank you. Maybe just to pick up on Monika's great opening. So this year we celebrate 160 years since the ITU was created. It's also the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. So ITU is the oldest international organization. We're older than the Postal Union, which is something most people think the Postal Union was first. We were first. But I think when we look at ITU's reason for being created back in 1865, I think that reason still remains very true to the purpose of the ITU. Back then, it was about ensuring that telegraphic messages could pass from one country to the next seamlessly without interference. And so to have that happen, the International Telegraph Convention was, let's say, brokered and signed, and the International Telegraph Union was created. Because we needed to have an international agreement, we needed to have technical standards in place to ensure that the telegraph could move seamlessly from one country to the next. And of course, we moved from there to radio, to television, to telephone, to mobile phones, to the internet, to satellites, etc. ITU, let's say, has always been the agency of connectivity. Back then, it was a different kind of connectivity. Today, it's all about digital connectivity. So we are the UN specialized agency that is dedicated to digital technologies and connectivity. I think we have a unique place in the UN system. We have a unique membership in that we don't just have member states, we have 194 member states, but we also have the private sector, unlike other UN organizations. And the private sector they're actually members of the ITU. We have academic members as well. And so we partner with countries, but we partner with our other agencies in the system to actually help support delivery, technical assistance, because the work that ITU does can help countries when it comes to education, when it comes to access to healthcare, when it comes to access to employment, when it comes to essentially every sector of the economy has a key link to digital connectivity. So the work that the ITU does is fundamental and core to the delivery of the UN system as a whole, and I think that we have a unique value proposition.
And for the final question, what is the role of ITU in supporting girls in ICT?
That's a great question on Girls in ICT Day. I mentioned before that there are 2.6 billion people that have never connected to the internet. A big percentage of the unconnected are actually women and girls. We have this very stubborn, as I would call it, digital gender gap. And so women and girls have less access to digital technologies. They also have less access to digital skilling programs. So sometimes we manage to get the access to the women and girls, but it's not very helpful because they don't have the needed skills to be able to leverage it in a way that's actually empowering. So we're focused on closing the gap, the digital gap. We're also focused on ensuring digital literacy programs for women and girls, and we're very focused on representation in the tech sector. It is probably no surprise, this is a very male-dominated field. Workforce numbers when it comes to tech, when it comes to AI, when it comes to space, sometimes 20%, in a good case 30%, but there's a huge underrepresentation. And so we have this annual celebration on the fourth Thursday of the fourth month, which is today, this year. That's something that we like to think of. It's not just a one-day, one-off celebration. It's something we'd like to see that runs year-round. We also have our Equals Global Partnership, which is a partnership of over 100 partners that's dedicated to the skilling piece, the digital gap, the leadership. We work closely with our friends at UN Women and other UN partners in that space. And we also have a number of coding efforts that we do. We have an African Girls Can Code. We have America's Girls Can Code. We have her cyber tracks as well, Women in Cybersecurity. You'll hear from Yasmin afterwards. And so we have a number of programs to help women and girls, but in particular, especially today, to have girls understand the opportunities in the tech sector, even if you're not a tech person. Even if you haven't studied STEM or not interested in STEM, technology has an impact on every career that we can imagine. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Ambassador, we will now move on to your last question. So, what is Costa Rica doing to support young women in pursuing careers in science and technology?
Thank you. Look, there are. I think it's not only in Costa Rica, but it's the recipe I would like to share with all of you. I think that there are three elements fundamental to as a country to do to support young women and careers in science and technology. The first of all is the visibility of the issue that is a ground that is mostly of male, plenty of male and less women. And I think that Doreen has already said how important is the percentage. And this visibility must be based on data, not only on perceptions, but in data. And we have a lot of data. Even in Costa Rica, I think only the 3.4% of the people working in ICTs are girls, women of girls. And this is the first point. First of all, have huge visibility of this issue, put it on the agenda, and be a discussion in all the forums that is possible. At the community level, at the parliamentarian level, at the political level, and most important also in the ministries of education, but also with the private sector. The second one is the policies, making policies, try to attract and to say. In Costa Rica, for instance, we made a revision of our constitution, and the access to internet and technologies is a fundamental right, which is great, but this is only the access. What is happening with the inclusivity and the real access and the possibility to have it? Which is mean, then you have policies, you have also national plans to invite girls and women to be inserted in the studies of the ICTs and all the technologies. But this is only a part that we need to move from the words to the action. And the third, I think, is the fundamental one, with the training and education. Open all the universities, and also to have, since the school and the first stage, the possibility to access of girls to maths, to all the technologies in a very inclusive manner. And I think that this is the main recipe that we can use, not only in Costa Rica. We are doing, I don't want to mention all what we are doing, but I think the fundamental is that we have these three elements on mind, which is mean visibility. We need to discuss more and more of this lack of participation of girls and women in the field, based on data, not on a perception. Second, policies, change the policies from the constitution to the laws and all the plans and all the policies that the government can have, not only at the national level, but also at the local level in the municipalities, so and so. And third, to increase the access on education and to focus also the access to this kind of studies to girls and women, and this is fundamental. Looking everything in a very holistic approach. Thank you. I think I have another one.
Yes, one more leader one. What is Costa Rica doing to make sure everyone, especially young people and underserved community, benefits from digital technology?
I think that I already mentioned a little bit about that. But what we are doing, making it visible, very visible, discussing, having that transforming in policies and education. But I think that now we need to move from the local and from the national to the global area. And I think that today, Doreen, and I congratulate the ITU to have this initiative. It's a long time to have this day. We need to bring from the local, national level to the global level this discussion. And the discussion is that being me myself as a diplomat, but also my colleagues, ambassadors and experts, to try to raise this issue in all the fora when we have the opportunity, and to say that there is a need to be more engaged in how it's important to empower girls in this field. And I said when I arrived to Doreen that I wanted to make some provocative proposal here at the end. But as we are now celebrating 160 years of ITU, why not moving from words to action and to dream big and to try to launch an initiative of a scholarship for girls that each country take the commitment to train and to educate 160 girls on ICTs. And then in 5 years, we can celebrate with all those girls, professionals, as the candles of this inclusivity on ICTs. It's a very dream proposal, but why not? 160 girls in each country is not too much, and we have 10 countries, we're going to have 1,650 girls, and we have 100, we're going to have a huge women in power, and they will serve also for the next 5 years as a model. This is something that we need, I think you need also as a girls for being in ICTs. Thank you.